Okay, Sinatapi. I'm in Blackfoot Confederacy territory, so I just pulled over. I don't think I'll get handcuffed and taken away. So, okay, welcome to Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. We come to you every Wednesday to just give a message of uplift and positive, proactive dialogue. So, okay, Nistu Nidaniko Makoyo Sokoi. It's my second Blackfoot name. Nistu Amskapi Pikani. Nistu Sixakatapi. Nistu Ganakstimata. Nistu Kami Poismanix. I just introduced myself. I'm very happy to be with you today. I just got my graft is right here. Cancer free, cancer free, cancer free, cancer free, cancer free. So, woohoo! So I just thought I would start off just humbly thanking you for all the prayers. This has been a family ordeal. My mother has these basal cell carcinomas, and so far my siblings do not, just myself. But yoo-hoo! On the 20th is my belly button birthday, and on May 3rd is my sobriety, put the plug in the jug birthday. So I'll be 68 years old. Woohoo! And I'm cancer free, and I'm a free roaming Nitsitapi, Skapi Pikani. I'm just roaming along. You might see there's some traffic over there. Might see a buffalo, grizzly bear. If we do, I'm just gonna start talking telepathic to it and say, not today, Buxy. Anyway, I wanted to have a couple of messages, 3 things today. I wanted to, of course, we always talk Native Wellness Institute. Our mission is to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. And this past week, I had to doctor's orders. I had to relax, stay stress-free, not lift anything over 5 pounds. I guess when you lift, you make the incisions and the stitches bleed. So I had to. So the 3 things I'd like to talk about is self-care after the pandemic. Yahoo! Self-care. And I can't apologize for the noise, but this is just where I have to go live. And then the second thing that I'd like to speak about is racism towards Native Americans and judgments for Native Americans, and how that can inhibit us, and how it can flip the coin and have us be abundant with being Native American. And so the self-care, just being proud of your DNA, or your teachings, being proud of your language, being proud of your culture, being proud of your ceremonies, being proud of your land, being proud of the children that you raise to be Native, being proud of the children that you might adopt, the children that you bear. So just, and then the third thing, it has to do with digital detox. I 5 years ago, we'll start with I came to the realization this last week when I didn't overlook at my emails. I didn't go on social media as much as when I'm working, because when I'm working, we put a lot of our people with Native Wellness Institute, we put them on social media. So, and I remembered, so I'd like to start with the story. As always, in some arenas, I'm the badass auntie. In some arenas, I'm the badass grandma. And then in some arenas, they don't like what I say because I tell the truth. Anyway, so I'll start with, because I became really conscious of not holding on to my phone all the time and not looking at my phone all the time. And I remembered 5 years ago in Santa Barbara when we were working with the Chumash people. I think Evo was there, Roberta was there, April McGill was there. We had a group with Sakui, and this was in California. And it was one of those unusual trips where I flew into Santa Barbara, and then to get me to the res, I had to take a bus. But it was cool because the bus went right along the ocean. And when we got there, there was a young person, and this young person gave us a handout. And young, I mean under like 20 years old. She gave us a handout. And in the handout, it was just hand drawn. It was not done on a computer, but it was talking about your mind, body, and your spirit, and what technology and carrying a smartphone, a digital detox. And it was a handout for wellness. And I just went, so that was 5 years ago. And now, you know, look at where we are in 2024, having come through, you know, the many things in our digital world, and the many things, you know, for those of you, from going from MySpace to TikTok, from MySpace to Snapchat, from MySpace to all of the ways that we're communicating that's not in person. And I remember this handout causing a little bit of a stir. That was 5 years ago, because we had grandmothers in there, we had young mothers, young fathers. There was only about 4 or 5 men, but it was mainly women, and it caused a stir because it said that it affects your spirit. And so this message today is, I want you really just to say, how many hours do you spend on social media? How many hours do you spend on different platforms? And even to the point of, you know, some people wake up and buy some stuff on Instagram. I mean, to the point where, you know, we use parking in San Francisco, you gotta use your iPhone. To start my brand new truck, you gotta use your iPhone. I mean, all this, my truck is wired to the smartphone. And I was thinking about that today, like, what if I didn't have this phone? Or what if I was not, you know, it's kind of like the have and the have-nots. Not every Indian person has an iPhone. Or not every, you know, even the I'm just gonna, since we're Native Wellness Institute, I'm just gonna talk about Indians, you know, Indians. You know, so this digital detox. So this week, you know, even driving here, it took to come to the doctor's. There's a snowstorm, a makapi, snowstorm. We call it a spring storm that can be dangerous, and so you can't go fast. You have to keep it in 4-wheel. And I was driving over here, and I decided to put my phone where I could not reach it. I decided to listen to music, so I was listening to some B.B. King, some jazz. I switched it over to NPR for 5 minutes of news, and I went back to B.B. King, and I went back to Etta James. And my first treatment program, you know, talking about self-care, in 1988, I went into the Betty Ford Center because my family intervened on me. And when I went into the Betty Ford Center, it was, they had just kicked Elizabeth Taylor out because, you know why? She wouldn't do her chores. She would vacuum. That was below her or whatever. So they had just kicked her out, and they had just brought Tanya Tucker in, Her name is Denise, and then they had brought Etta James in. So I was in treatment with Etta James and Tanya Tucker and Elizabeth Taylor. So I'm old school, old G. Because pretty soon they won't even be alive. And shoot, I'll still be sober and I'll still be alive. No. So I share that with you on this beautiful April 17th. You know, the moon is a little more than a half. It's we're moving into a beautiful springtime here. Early morning when I woke up, there was snow everywhere, but the lake was open, and I saw my favorite two loons. They were big loons, and they were swimming, and it was just like, woohoo, loons! You know, because where I live, we always watch the animals. I just saw a pregnant moose 2 days ago. These kind of storms, that all the people who have our calving season, it all happens now. And then it happens with the human beings. Things start to happen with us too. So let's talk about that first thing on self-care. Self-care in the springtime, you know, there's Indians always make kind of jokes, you know, it's time to go out and explore other relationships, even if you're in a committed relationship. Those dang Indians. Anyway, they're all making kinds of jokes. You know, it's springtime. It's Kyo powwow. Oh, that's where I'm headed right now. Well, I'm actually headed to the matriarchal storytelling conference, which starts at 5 o'clock today. And we'll go the 17th, 18th, and 19th because of the University of Montana and Dr. Annie Balcourt, who is Blackfeet, and her father was one of my mentors, Gordon Balcourt. We went to UC Berkeley together when he was getting his PhD in public health. So that's where I'm headed, and then I'm headed to Kyo. So that self-care in springtime, you know, I was one of the self-care things that I was so aware of is I didn't set an alarm to wake up. And when I'm working, I always have to like set the alarm to give myself time. I just turned off my phone, actually just, you know, and I decided one night, I said, I'm gonna just turn my phone off at 7 p.m. And then one night I turned it off at 8 p.m. And then last night, I'm not quite sure, it wasn't quite dark yet. I just had to make a couple text communications and I turned it off. So that self-care, you know, and again, like even with that digital detox, that mind, body, and spirit. And I started reading a book. I did watch movies, and I watched some really incredible movies. The one movie I would implore and ask all of you to watch, it's on early access, so it is in the theaters, is called the American Society of the Magical Negroes. And it's comedy and it's satire about, since slavery, how African American people have been trained to appease white people and to not make them upset, because when you make them upset, you get Rodney King, you know. You get kicked to death. or you get thrown over the slave ship. So anyway, I'm gonna watch it a second time, but I'm gonna watch it with a close friend because I really want to have dialogue after it, because I was just like, whoa. Sometimes we don't see our behavior with white supremacy, or, you know, always saying, excuse me, you know, not to appease white people. And some tribes do that, some don't, you know, and some, whatever, you know, no judgment on them, but it's that self-care. I'm going to get back to the self-care. Self-care is a journey, you know, that first 25 years, that first 20, that 50 years, that, you know, raising your children, or when your children have moved out and are independent, is really a time when both the fathers and the mothers can find themselves. I mean, they can do it during, but that finding your authentic self, finding, who you are, what you like to listen to, what kind of imagination. And so in this self-care, so the reading a book. So while I was sojourning and the doctor said to relax and not be stressed, I turned off my phone and I started reading Tommy Orange's new book, The Wandering Stars. Highly recommend that book. And so I'm savoring it because no, I know Tommy Orange, but I know one of his adopted mothers was Janet King. And she would speak of him so fondly. And as he grew from a boy into a man, and now he's this epic, well-known award winner of all kinds of Pulitzers, but he's written his second book, and I started reading it, and I'm crying because he is so eloquent. He submerges you into emotion, but also history. And at the beginning of the book, the prologue to reading the book is often, it's a setup. He talks about, how there's been philosophies to, kill the Indian, save the man with Pratt. And one of the first quotes, he has a Northern Cheyenne proverb. It says, "Beware of the man that does not talk, and beware of the dog that does not bark." That's a Cheyenne proverb. And if you think about it, often the hurts that come to us people of color, tribal people, us BIPOC, us Black Indians, it lurks and it comes from behind. It's not overt in our face. So remember that. Beware of the man that does not talk, and beware of the dog that does not bark. And so Tommy Orange, what he does is the prologue is he sets that up with all of that history of how, prior to Pratt setting up Carlisle like a prison camp where you're brainwashing, cut off their hair, my heart and my prayers go out to everyone that had their hair cut off, that had their hair taken. Is right now, because that in our face right now, we're healing from that. We're healing with that happening with not only Cole, but we're healing with all of those that had to cut their hair, and so Tommy Orange goes from the characters involved, and he's just, I'm just starting the book, and the way that he goes into it is, what did the children do at the Sand Creek massacre when they killed most of the parents and most of the adults, and the ones that got away and ran for a long time and hid and didn't have nothing to eat, and how they managed to eat what they could and not starve to death, and how this deep wound, how it fortified them to later become great people, not only with their medicine, but great people with their thoughts and great people with their kindness. Native Wellness Institute, we've really been pushing lateral kindness, lateral forgiveness, lateral growth. It's just, I just have to say, on the 20th, in a couple days, I want to this is an ask, because I learned we need to ask each other for help. So my ask, I don't really need anything. So I'd like to ask you to donate to Native Wellness Institute. You can go to our site. Shailene's setting up something. a birthday present that you could give to me for my 68 years of living on the earth is give a donation to Native Wellness Institute. And we'll use it, our team will use it to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. And we got a big conference coming up. I mean, it's called Healing Together. And it's all about self-care. White Bison is going to be there. The American Cancer Society is bringing Sharon Day. And the beautiful thing is the American Cancer Society is bringing Dr. Clayton Small. And Clayton, I think Clayton is a couple years older than me, but Clayton's PhD work, and he'll be there to talk about it, is his PhD was on 240 Native men and how they healed over time. And I always remember when he first got his PhD, this is like 35 years ago, I remember him saying that Indian men usually don't start to mature till they're 40 years old. I was like, what? So don't get them when they're 38. They're not mature. 35. He was just talking about spiritual maturity, about responsibility, about, you know, not drinking, about relearning the language or speaking the language. Now remember that men that don't talk. What about, you know, men and women, when one of the hurts is those that can speak the language but don't talk, don't speak in the language, or don't teach in the language. So please, if you know the language, talk to us. Tell us a story. Explain it. Just tell us a prayer. Say it in the language. We want to bring the language. Because I understand, because during this time, you know, going through, I'm cancer free, and yeah, this will heal, and this will heal. But I was doing a lot of prayers. Yesterday I just took about, it was just snowing like heck, just snowing up a storm, and my nephew of Salaga, he's Crow. He gave me some medicines. And one of the medicines he gave me, you know, it was a cedar. And so I mixed it with some sweet pine. I mixed it with some sorrow medicine, some grief medicine. And I mixed it with some omegasis, some big medicine, and ground it all together. And then I started just mixing medicines. Some with sweetgrass, always in 4. I was in 2 or 4 or 6. I just started, and for the purpose of smudging and for the purpose of giving away, because I'm out here on a road trip. I'm going to Missoula to the matriarch storytelling. I'm going to dance on my birthday on the 20th at Cayo, and then I'm going to hop in my truck. I call it War Pony. And I'm going to start heading towards Albuquerque to visit my best friends from college, Don and Holly Ami. I'm going to visit my brother Ira and his wife Minnie and all of their kids and all of their grandchildren. I'm going to visit Susan Palmer. Susan Palmer, I'm coming to visit you. You said you made me a bedroom. And then, okay, so this is the best part. I guess this is some of the self-care is I'm one of the allies to the Montana Two-Spirit Gathering, and the 28th gathering is happening this August. And one of the primary founders and leaders is Steve Barrios. And Steve and I we've grown up together, and we've always allied together. And the last time I was visiting with him, we went to go see the film Bring 'Em Home, about the Eni, or the buffalo, being brought back and re-emerging within the Blackfoot territory. And he told me, he said, this is my 3rd year that they've invited me to the Gathering of Nations, gone in Albuquerque. And he said, he said, you should come and dance with us when we dance in Grand Entry. He said, because the past couple of years, we've been bullied. Again, knock that off. You know, we gotta heal with embracing are opening our heart to LGBTQ and transgender, the transphobia, the homophobia, are the wounds. So anyway, so I said, you want me to come dance with you because there's been some bullying? So, like, okay, so I'm gonna drive there so I can dance grand entry April 25th with the Two Spirit entourage and the grand entry at the Gathering of Nations in Albuquerque. So, woohoo! Steve Barrios, all right. And I just want to say, Native Wellness Institute, one of the things that would like to share with you is that we're really integrating into it. We recently had our TOT of healthy relationships. And so we had co-facilitating of myself, Dr. Mark Harris, who is a Black Indian, half African American, half Native. And then we had Dwight Francisco, who is a Tohoto O'odham man that claims two-spiritness. And so we had a two-spirit facilitator, a Black Indian, and a badass auntie. And it was one of the most deepest healing, because we had to create a safe space. And that's what's happening in June with the Healing Together, with Native Dads Network, with White Bison, with Al Pooley's group, Native Fatherhood and Families Association, is we're into creating safe spaces. I think Crazy Gene Tagabon, he's out somewhere. We were laughing this morning because he had asked them to put the chairs in a circle. So they just took 4 chairs and put them in a circle, like facing out. And then there was tables around. We were laughing. Well, I guess that's the 4 directions they put the chairs. Because Native Wellness Institute, we do everything in a circle. And we sometimes do things in a heart, we do everything with our heart and in a circle. Because in a circle, everyone is equal. In a circle, no one is above the other. And in a circle, there's a sacredness to it, and using the smudge. In a circle, a circle is so healing that when you sit in a circle and you listen to everyone, you can pass a feather, you can pass a stick, you can pass a rock, you can pass other things. It's so sacred when you're in that circle. You're never going to sit or stand like that again in that circle. That's why a lot of times Native Wellness Institute, we ask you to say the names of who you want prayers for. We ask you to say the names who needs prayers. And in the circle, everyone has a responsibility for hearing your prayers. And then when they pray, if they hear that person's name or that situation, they can also pray for it. I just like, for some reason, I just like making these little hearts. Because that's, if you can't tell, I'm just like really happy. Like, and I'm I got to get a Band-Aid that's my skin color. This is kind of my skin color. I'm going to head to Target because Target has people of color Band-Aids. And anyway, you can see it's healing and that self-care. So what do we need to do post-pandemic for self-care? Get your butt down to the clinic and get your butt down to the... I know it's tough. Get on the scale and let somebody who is a professional talk to you about when you get on that scale. They told me, dang, you're big. Eh? They didn't say F-A-T. They said, use big. No. I said, I've always been big. No. But I prefer to call it voluptuous. So anyway, part of that self-care, now that we can go into the hospitals, and now that there's all kinds of, if you live on the res or you live in the urban area, I just have to say Native American Indian Health Center in the Bay Area, our Seattle Indian Health Board, are in the urban areas in Chicago. Go get a checkup. And that's how I found this. I finally could go and get my teeth checked, get a colonoscopy, because my father had colon cancer at 55. So I've had, 5 colonoscopies. And so far they're clear. And when they check you, if they get that polyp and take it out, you're gonna live. That polyp is what turns into cancer. It's like a little pimple. So, mammograms, prostate. I don't have a prostate, but all of that checked out. Get your eyes checked. I got my eyes checked, and yes, I do need reading glasses. So I bought 30 pair, and I've already lost 20. Eh? Anyway, get your hearing. Oh God, please get your hearing checked. The worst thing in the whole world is not being able to hear and have a conversation with someone who cannot hear. And there's ways to do it. Cecilia Fire Thunder, our honorary board member, she had ocular implants. She can hear. She totally went deaf because she was in boarding school and had otitis media when she was a child. And now she can hear. I just love it because she calls me on the way to work in the morning, and she said, yeah, I was just listening to some country and western, and I was thinking about Jay Harwood, because he's Blackfeet and he's a cowboy. And she always calls me up, or she'll call up and she'll say, I was just listening to Motown, and I was just wishing we could do the electric slide. She's 77. She said, we should do the electric slide. Cecilia is just so cool that way. But this self-care, and I just want a shout out to Cecilia Fire Thunder. I was just telling the doctors a minute ago when I was inside that she started the free clinics in Los Angeles because she was a nurse, and she used to get the samples because they gave me all this sunscreen samples. I have to wear sunscreen and a hat, blah, blah, blah. So if you see me, jack me up and say, you got your sunscreen? Because I'm always outdoors. Anyway, Cecilia would take the samples, and they were, all the Indians, were relocating in the 50s, and all the Indians were relocating in the 60s to Los Angeles, to Chicago, to Denver, to Seattle. And so she would say, okay, I have these samples, and she would help people for free. She would just on the corner. And then that turned into what became the free clinics in Los Angeles. Then that turned into Sakui. Then that turned into CRIB, California Rural Indian Health Board. And then that turned into the city, the tribes, because they're rancherias. They're not like a res, except for Hoopa. They got health care. So in this self-care, there's also the physical, but I want to talk just the real serious for a moment. Get a therapist. Get to see someone at behavioral health. And what are you asking for? Because you just went through a post-traumatic stress pandemic. And I think it's not healthy for us just to pretend we didn't go through it, and to work out our healing, to work out the grace of what we learned, like staying in the here and now, like facing our own mortality of, we could have got COVID and died, unresolved grief when we had so many people leaving us. I just think of Navajo Nation, or Dene, losing 20,000 plus of their relatives. We need to take some time to do some healing, or Native Wellness is inviting you. Native Dads Network is inviting you. We're inviting you all to come on in. White Bison is inviting you. The American Cancer Association, you know, thank you for everything you do. Coco, Lori, and those, thank you for everything that you do, because it, you know, this was early screening. Had I let this go, it's a single cell cancer. It can metastasize very fast, and we lose people like that. So I went, and it actually was on the Power Hour. A person sent me a message and go, Theda, what's that little black dot on your nose? And then they apologize for being in, but it entered, and then my other niece, Tristan Fitzgerald, Doug's wife, she said, you better go have that checked out. So as soon as the pandemic was over, I went through the motions, you know, how do I get contract care? How do I get, you know, referrals? And I got a full body check. And in that full body check, the rest of the body was okay, but I had these 5 basal cell carcinomas. So enough of that. I'm healing. I'm like, you know, this is what it looks like to be cancer free. Woohoo! I just want to go, you know, and I want to be good. That self-care. I don't mind the wrinkles, you know. I don't mind the turkey neck. I don't mind any of that. I just want, and I want the same thing for you. Native Wellness Institute, we want the same thing for you. Good health care. And so that self-care, but this mental health, one of, I am starting intense therapy for the mental health of being a parent of an addict. But I'm also returning in depth to my Al-Anon meetings, my Al-Anon people, and Al-Anon, because Al-Anon's philosophy is you didn't cause it, you can't cure it, and you can't control it. And I started out a long time ago, you know, most of you know that, with Alateen, with my father's alcoholism. But as a parent, the mental health that it takes when you have 1 or 2 or 3 children who have addictions or more, how do you maintain your self-care? How do you get the boundaries? How do you do the tough love? You know, I was thinking even that should be just one of our focuses coming up, is on tough love. How do you make you know, and tough love is, you don't go get them out of jail. You don't post bond. You don't send them money to get a hotel for the night. You don't give them gas money. And don't give them your car! God dang it! Don't lend your car to an addict child. That's a no. Anyway, you gotta love them unconditionally with tough love. So, as I said before, in that that loving a child with an addiction, say the prayers. For my daughter, I say the prayers every day that she be surrounded by guardian angels. That guardian angels help her. That guardian angels come and she hears them. That guardian angels help her steer her to take better care of herself. And so far that's working. She's in prison. She had 4 DUIs, which is a felony in Montana, and she keeps running. So she's staying, and she's been in prison. They've been having sweat lodges. They've been singing songs. And I was teasing her. I go, you're just having a Gona in the women's Billings, women's prison. And she said, yes. And she loves it. So I put that out there. What other mental health? If we're going through such a big healing around perpetrators. If you were ever sexually assaulted as a child, or as an adult, go get help for it, to see what still is lingering and what keeps you out of having a healthy relationship. Even getting your teeth checked. One of the things, if you've been perpetrated that way, is you don't want anything invasive, so you never go get your teeth checked. So then next thing you gotta pull all your teeth and you gotta wear dentures or get implants. is really take care of yourself. If you have been perpetrated physically, emotionally, and that emotion, like you may not have been hurt physically, but you've been hurt emotionally. That is where I really encourage you to do the self-care with that. And it's not, it's not that, man, no way am I perfect in that. I still work on it. And I'm doing some more deeper healing with being a parent of an addict. Okay, so let's, the other thing I wanted to just visit with you about is cultural appropriation, or this is critical race theory, racism. And I was thinking about, because some people don't know that they're, one woman came up to me and she saw my necklace that the Rosebud people gave me. And I was just checking into the hotel, and I just had surgery, so I was kind of, I was just, whoa. So she came up to me and said, "Oh, that's so beautiful. Did you make that?" And I was, just out of surgery, and I told her, "Don't touch it. Don't touch me. Back up." Patronizing racism. No. When they come and they look at you and, "Oh, did you make that?" It's different if an Indian asks you, because usually, Indians, that's okay. But when it's a non-native, "Did you make that?" That's like a patronizing racist question. We never go up to them and start poking around on them, or they'll come and they'll try to stroke my braid and say, "Oh, I like your hair." Nope. Anyway, I just that kind of. So this is a story I wanted to share with you. When you want to learn to not have an ism like racism or sexism, pretend you're a guest and someone has invited you to their house, and they have invited you and they're cooking a meal, and you're going to eat a meal and you're going to have a conversation, and you're a guest. So think of that like cultures. If this is an Indian tribe and you're not that tribe, you're a guest. You're a guest. And so you partake what the culture has to share for you, just like that meal. You enjoy the meal. And you're the guest and they're the host. When tribes and natives are the host, they're in charge. And it's when the uncolonized ally tries to become the host, to tell you what you should do, to tell you what you should, even, the lawyers that tell you what to do with your water, your land, etc. When you try to become the host, you are in the ism. So knock it off. And so I've been thinking about cultural humility. Cultural humility is where you come and you meet a people, or you meet another culture. And I've been trying to do this with white people. And I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to really try to hear where they're coming from, and have a dialogue. But when cultural humility is where you have many lessons with those individuals, where you learn about the culture. It's their culture, not your culture. It's not for, it's kind of like, 1978 when everyone wanted to be Lakota. If you're Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, good. But if you aren't, you need to find out about your tribe, not becoming Lakota. It's just like, I wouldn't want you to try to be my tribe, or our Native Wellness Institute. We wouldn't want you to be the tribes that we are. It's part of this cultural humility is to find out your authentic self. who you are. And so that gets back to that self-care and that mental health. It's time to explore, and that's where I'm headed right now, because we're going to talk about genealogy of 6, 7, 8 generations, or if you're just starting out, what are the teachings of the matriarch? Not the patriarch at this conference, but the matriarch. Is find out the history of your parents, your mother, your father, your uncles, your aunties, your grandparents. Find out their history. Chart it. I have now the good thing, because I like genealogy, is people ask me questions, and they're asking, especially my mother, people are asking questions of my mother, because she's 86 and she still has a clear head. She remembers everyone in boarding school. She remembers all the stories, and she's not trying to write a book. She's not trying to get a PhD. She's just sharing the stories for healing. Share the stories for healing. And so, I'll give you an example. I have a little nephew that just turned 13. And I know his grandma's side, but I was thinking about his grandpa's side or great-grandpa's side, because he's an extraordinary artist. He is so extraordinary. When he was little, we would buy him rolls of heavy-duty aluminum foil, and he'd make sculptures. One time we made a giant full-size T-Rex. He'd make sculptures. He draws. Anything he touches becomes an art piece. Hey, Trevo! Hey, Trevo! Get the caco, man. Anyway, I don't want to look at the comments, but this little nephew that I have, the other day, he when he got out of the car, he had almost, it was like an AK-47, but he had made it out of cardboard and duct tape and tape. And then he made a revolver out of cardboard and duct tape. They were just sculptures, and it was because he, as a young man, wanted to know more about guns. And so he looks them up, and then he sculpts them. So now they said he's sculpting a Uzi, which, could be dangerous, because he's a big Indian kid. He just 12, just turned 13. You don't want to, with a person of color carrying something that could be perceived as a weapon could be dangerous. But for him, it's art. And so I was thinking, wow, I bet you either on his great-grandpa side, on either, because they're black, they're both Blackfoot or Amscapi Picani, I bet you had an artist that could make an atlatl. I was going to talk to him about an atlatl, and I guess like learning how an atlatl that you throw an arrow where you didn't need bullets to hunt with. So anyway, in this investigation of finding who your authentic self, just like Trevo, half Navajo, half Blackfeet. I love my nephew, in Phoenix, because he learns both. He learns all the Blackfeet songs. He learns all the NAC songs. He learns the medicines. He learns the humility. He learns of giving, that when you give out, you get it back 10 times. When you give out, you get it back 20 times. He's just, there's many Trevos, and I highlight you as there are nieces, and I was just thinking about, it's graduation time. Our niece Lily Gladstone and my sister Natua Pisaki Carol Murray are going to get honorary PhDs at the University of Montana May 11th. So you're all invited. Come, bring your headdress, bring your Indian clothes, and stand up proud, because they're going to be getting their honorary PhD. And it's just so beautiful. I mean, and Carol and John are going to 4 museums. They're going on a trip. And when they go to museums, we usually get things back. So I'm just like, right on. So that self-care, that ism, and racism is about power. when you have power over someone and you manipulate that to control them. So that's why it's, you know, when we're being controlled, we're not racist because we don't have the power to, you know, like otherwise I'd say, okay, oh, you Kalispell, give us back our land. You know, give it back. They ain't gonna give it back. You should see what they're doing here. I took a ride because when we're done here, I'm gonna put down some pastascan, some tobacco, and I'm just gonna ask our ancestors to be good to these visitors, these guests on our land, that they practice a sacredness with the land. And I'm just gonna ask the sapu, the wind spirit. I'm gonna ask, you know, the universe. I'm gonna ask, you know, the stars. I'm gonna ask the sakum, the ground, to help these people to harmonize so that we could live together and harmonize. So today it's Native Wellness. It's Wellness Wednesday. We come to you every week. We're inviting you, you know, come on down. The grand entry is Friday night at the Field House in Missoula. And I think I'm going to head that way because, you know, once a person of color kind of stops and gets out and hangs around too long, next thing the cops will be showing up. Guess what? I'm legal. I got a registered vehicle, paid my insurance. I got a license. Oops, one thing's not legal. I better get the hell out of here. Anyway, I just wanted to come to you today to share some positive, productive, and proactive kind of things for health. And I want to thank you. And this is Maya Mama Day just gave me these for my birthday. So this is the first time I'm wearing them. She was at our Phenomenal Matriarch conference in San Francisco. So thank you, Maya. I just, how did they look? So I'm gonna be dancing. Woo, 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 woo. That is just, I feel my happiness. You know, Indians, we don't have bucket lists, we just have a happy list. And my happy list is right now because I'm going on a road trip and I'm gonna head that way. And I just wanted to come and share this good news with you and ask for your continued prayers for Native Wellness Institute. And we will pray for you. And I'll just say, you know, we got, I think Sister Lori and Dwight are out there. Jean is training. Shayla, everyone's just out training away, just keeping the teachings of our ancestors alive. So with that, I'm going to say Kitakito Matsuno, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Let's see, where will I be? I think I'll be in Albuquerque. But well, I'm going to be at a gathering down there, so, you know, come on down, dance with us. Dance in and support our two-spirit, Steve Barrios. Come with us and come dance there. But I'm just feeling goodness in my heart. And I hope that you feel goodness in your heart and that you practice lateral kindness and that you practice lateral forgiveness. So until I see you next week, Kitakito Matsuno. Love you. See you later.